All right. Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
All right. Looks like we got a full house. I see half the folks in the live chat and half in the on the stage. So looks like we got a pretty good turnout, and we're on time. So if we got any extras coming in, I guess we'll see them shortly. But for now, we'll just get started with our weekly meeting. And Tanya, you got anything you want to start off with before we get going?
No, nothing in particular.
All
Looks
right.
like everybody had a pretty good week as far as leads are going.
Yep. Yep, and I had a recommendation. So I guess I'll start off with a little bit of news. So next week I got one of the newer builders, First America. They've been offering like 7% to realtors, but there's a community off of Foster Road in the Converse area, and she invited us all out for lunch. They're going to treat us next week or maybe brunch. I'm not sure which, but it'll be like in place of this meeting. We'll meet there at 10. So I'll send out that um, calendar invite. Just make sure you accept it if you're attending, so we can get a head count for brunch. But in place of this meeting next week, it'll be 10 o'clock overall in Converse area, and it's a new builder called First America, and they're again they're offering 7% commissions on pretty much all their inventory homes. They have a little bit different product than you might have seen. They build, and the biggest difference I know of is they stress this over and over, is they build their homes based on the requirements of the hurricanes in Houston. They're out of Houston. They just moved here 14 or came here 14 months ago. And their claim to fame is, they build a better home, even though it's in San Antonio and we don't really have hurricanes here. They're still building it with those specs so it can handle, hurricane and tornado type winds, that type of stuff. Really sturdy construction. But I would say if you're looking for a product that's competes with them, they're kind of in their own bracket. So like if you guys don't know like foundations and footages and different programs like that, let's say Lennar and DR Horton, they have the 30-foot products, the 35-foot products, the 40-foot products. DR Horton, they used to make, well, they still do, just different communities, 45, 50, and 60-foot products. Whereas if you go to Perry, it's 45, 50, 60. They don't really have anything in the 30s. This particular builder right now is just doing the 45-foot product. But you will see that they compete kind of with DR Horton prices. So if you're thinking, all right, where do I find, like, if you saw Perry Homes lower end, the 45-foot product, they compete with that. Maybe not as nice in the finish outs, but they're pretty close. Pretty close. So if you're kind of looking for that in between price point, but it seems like a whole lot more quality. Plus, they're offering percentages for realtors that allow us to do quite a bit, with our commission. Part of what they pitched to us was that if you're going to, get that 7% commission, they want you to see that as part of the entire package for your client. So your 7% plus the reduction in interest rate plus the reduction in the price of the home, they put all that together and say, hey, if we're able to give your client the best of everything, and at some point we realize, like, for instance, the home doesn't appraise for exactly what we said it would appraise for, do you guys mind using a little bit of that rebate to help us out? Typically, I'm assuming it won't be more than 1%, but they're hoping it appraises. But just in case it doesn't, because the market has been kind of strange. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. But with a 7% commission, even if you were to get 6, I think most of us will be happy. If not, let me know. I'll take the deal for you. And I'll take the 6. But I'll even give you 1% just for referring it to me.
I'll take it too. I'm happy to take the 6 or 7%, whatever the case.
Yeah, I'll give you whatever portion. If you don't want to do the deal because you got to have that 1%, I'll give you that one. but no, next Thursday that's going to be the deal. Also for my team members, I'm going to be sending out a matter of fact. I'm going to cover that first. I was going to cover it last, but I'm going to cover it first just to get it out of the way because I will definitely forget. So we're going to be doing transaction tracking for 2024. So I'm going to send out the form. Basically, it's pretty straightforward. What was your total number of closings year to date? How many were new builds? Of the new builds, what commission did you receive? So just put each number. If you did 5, then put 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever commission you got. How many pre-owned? What was the commission for those? How many listings? What was the commission for those? So I'm going to start basically tracking these numbers, and who knows, I might put something out for awards or rewards, or who knows. I'm probably going to have someone take over and be the committee chair on that, because I just don't track recognition. My bosses used to always get mad at me. They're like, JJ, what do you want for? It's like, you don't even have to recognize me. I was never that guy. I was always behind the scenes. And then I recognized when I became a commander, there's a lot of people that say they don't want recognition, but they really do. They'll be like, no, I'm okay. And then you give them recognition. They light up like a star in the sky, man. They want everybody to know, but they don't want to say it. So I'm like, someone else says it for them. I guess that makes the difference. So, all right. With that, let's jump into our milestones for the week. Looks like, and I guess that brings me to the other point. So for the last announcement, before we get to the milestones and training, I did talk with a few of you about offering a affiliate program, so that if you feel like you're getting a lot out of this training, which I've heard from a lot of people, it's not as simple as, okay, we come on here and I like the format, or I've seen something that could be better, or I've seen something more exciting. To me, I'm just not that concerned about how exciting everything and everybody. I like the fact that when people communicate, they're like, hey, I saw someone else doing really well, and that inspired me. Perfect. But to me, it really goes back to accountability. And when I went over that training, maybe I'll do that at the end if we have time. But when I went to that training during my GPS training, the goal, plan, schedule, I talk about accountability, and there's like 4 or 5 different levels of accountability. And to me, that's the primary function of a coach. I've been a personal trainer since 1989. I've written 4 books in fitness. I've had accolades across the globe. I was ranked #1 in my military units for the training programs I put together. They would take units from the 60 something percentile to 99. They'd be the top 1% of the entire Air Force or Army. I've trained bodybuilders who won first, second place, and both of my competitors were in the same show. So I know my stuff in fitness, but I want to make sure that when I put these products together, people are getting results, not as excited about, how great was the program put together. They may hate my program. I don't know, but is it getting you a result you want? And that's the goal. So if you're getting results from this and you're recognizing that accountability matters, and even with all my training as a personal trainer, I still, guess what? I hire personal trainers when I'm trying to get in shape. I'll literally go find something. They'll be like, well, what can we help you with? I'm like, not much, just accountability. I'm going to show up once a week, weigh me, take my measurements, and I'll see you next week. They'll be like, can we take you through a workout? I'm like, no, don't, please don't. Because I've seen all those workouts, and they're like, well, we can show you this, this, and this. I'm like, no, I'll show you a workout that I designed called progressive resistance training, and no one in this gym will be able to do it in 30 minutes. And they're just like, wow, what do you mean? I'm like, it's a tough workout. I do a cardio program that's 4 minutes long, and most people can't stand it. It's like, why is it so tough? You're just sprinting for a minute, full speed. That's it. You sprint for a minute, then you take a break for 2 minutes, then you sprint for a minute. And then I'm like, all right, now we're going to grow that up to 12 minutes. And you just keep doing that. They're like, what do you mean sprint? I mean a full out sprint. You're going to be exhausted after 1 minute. If the treadmill can go to 15 miles an hour and you can run at 15, that's what you're going to be doing. They're like, that's impossible. I'm like, that's the point. It needs to be tough. If I couldn't challenge you, I wouldn't be a very good coach. But that's kind of the philosophy I'm using here. I want everyone to kind of look over this and think, like, if I'm gaining something from this, if accountability is working, if it's the ideas that are working. When we put the affiliate program out there, I want you guys to be able to reach out to folks, and I'll have the links and everything set up. So all you got to do is just send them the link and you say, hey, I'm part of this mastermind that's doing really well. But the goal is to help you guys put some money in your pocket from referring people. I'm probably going to do somewhere between 25 and 35 or something, 25%, maybe 25% commissions, maybe up to 40. We'll see how it goes. But if I do 25% and you put 4 people in the program, obviously yours is going to get covered by the 4 people you put in. And of course the group grows. But once that happens, then we have to start looking at how do we bring people up on the stage. And at that point, it's going to be the top 10 who actually did the assignment. So I've been trying to figure out the best way to do that. It's one of the reasons I haven't put the program out, because if we do grow to 100 people really fast, there's no way I could have even 10 people on here at all times. It just won't happen. Sherry saying, can you post the email link to our forum to ask questions? The forum, I'm not sure. I guess Tanya posted it. I'm not even sure what that means. Is there a forum somewhere that I'm missing?
The community.
Oh, the group. Okay, gotcha. I thought you meant on here. All right, no worries. Oh, thanks. Looks good. All right, so with that, looks like we got Ashley up first, and pretty solid week. Looks like a few buyer leads and a few seller leads. And one thing I'll point out to begin is I've had a conversation with a lot of people, but I want everyone to take a look and see what pops up the most when it comes to source. Almost every single time it's going to be the SOI. Almost every week, majority of the people have sphere of influence. So I was talking to several people. I've brought this up about Dayton Schrader multiple times, and I keep trying to get everybody to understand this. And I don't know, it's so difficult. I guess I'm just going to have to like make it an assignment, make it mandatory, maybe make it punitive. I don't know. I can't figure it out. But we have to start coming up with a way to set up long-term email follow-up to your entire book of business. You got to do it. Everyone who says, well, it doesn't work. It's like when I give someone my checklist for the open house and they say, well, it didn't work. And I go, well, there's 116 things on here. Did you do all 116? Yeah, I did. And I'll walk through and go, so where are the signs? Where are the flags? Did you do a video? Oh, you didn't do any of this stuff. So you just said you did, but you didn't really do it. So if you're not following my checklist, don't give me credit for it, please. So, but it cracks me up. We're like, I followed your checklist. You didn't follow my checklist. You came up with a version of mine. So when we start putting these assignments together, just, make sure you're doing every step in there, and then we can get better feedback from that as well. All right, but let's jump in there with Ashley. I'll bring you up on the stage, and then we'll cover it from there. All right. Hey, good morning, Ashley.
Hey, good morning. Okay, so this week, yes, I had 2 buyer leads. One was from a Facebook marketplace, I guess. Facebook marketplace for one of my listings. They reached out and saw it on there, and then they drove by the property. So I'm trying to get them pre-approved. I guess they would technically be a buyer lead, even though it's my listing. If I coordinate the paperwork, then I would get 4% out of my seller versus the 3%, because there is no buyer agent.
Right. But, and so also think that they might purchase another home. So you never know.
Yes. Yeah. And then the other one, I had an appointment yesterday. He's a cash buyer looking for kind of like a fix and flip type property. So we went and looked at one yesterday. So hopefully we'll get him something soon. And then my listings, I'm definitely heavier on the listings right now. I think I've got about 6 listings. I have 2 going live tomorrow. What did I put?
Yeah, 3,
Those
1.
Yeah. So I have 2 going live tomorrow, but the leads, I put SOI because I'm working with an investor and doing the novation thing. And so they called me this week, and they had another listing for here in San Antonio. So that one's going live tomorrow. And then I'm focusing on foreclosures. So I started cold calling my list this week, and I talked to 2 people. Of 3 people I called, 2 of them answered and talked to me. I had a conversation for almost 2 hours between those 2 people. One of them I'm meeting with tomorrow, and she needs to get her house sold. And then the other guy, he actually has 3 properties that he mentioned to me. So I'm going to be calling him back tomorrow as well.
Well, fantastic. So I don't know if everybody's hearing, like when the market seems like it's slowing down, and I know everyone will hear this, and I know Ashley mentioned like it seemed like it was slowing down a few weeks ago, maybe last month. But as I tell everyone, it's seasonal and it's cyclical. You just have to have a different niche for every season, every cycle. So if listings are always going to be booming from April to, basically August. But after that, what's your strategy? If you have a different strategy, Ashley's going with pre-owned, or correction, with pre-foreclosure, and she's looking at investors. Tanya is very big with investors. She pretty much has the same philosophy, and that's a niche that she discovered, I guess, years ago. But she did a training with us in succession, went over a lot of information, shared with people like what the strategy looks like, that kind of thing. But it really does boil down to you have to diversify. Now, once you find your niche, and let's say you're heavy with listings, I'm always going to tell people, from my perspective, listings are just another way to generate buyer leads. But for people who don't like working with buyers, then you have to be really strong on listings. To me, the reason I do new builds is because I don't like doing pre-owned. I don't really care for certain homes that you have to walk into. Sometimes the air conditioning doesn't work. Sometimes they smell bad, that type of stuff. So I'm like, if I'm going to do anything when it comes to buyers, it's going to be new builds. And I'm going to almost single-handedly send them to new builds all the time until they tell me, yeah, I really have. They're going to have to convince me that it's pre-owned. If they can convince me that I need horses and cows and turkey, and I can't do that in a new build community. Well, you're right about that. So then I will have to take them to a place where there's pre-owned homes. But again, when you have all these different ways of diversifying, like Ashley's doing, then you'll see that it'll feel like there's lulls and all that, but always be thinking, I'm planting the seeds for the future. And then as long as you have some kind of content that's going out on a regular basis to your sphere of influence, they're going to keep sending you business. The same way you keep in touch with those investors is the same way you want to keep in touch with everyone in your sphere. You'll be surprised how many leads are coming in. So there'll be a point where you're just letting leads come in, and you can just send out, if you choose, you can say, you know what, I only need to do 3 deals a month, maybe 4. Everything beyond that, I'm going to take a 25, 35% referral fee, and you'll start seeing those $1 million months, or correction, years. You'll be able to make $1 million in the industry. I mean, I've seen $100,000 months. It's fun the first time, but I can promise you, you don't want to do 10 deals every month. It sucks. And when I was seeing those kind of numbers, I immediately had to go get a team. I was like, this ain't gonna happen for me. I'll do 5, and I'll let 5 team members in the mortgage industry will do 5. And I'm like, easy to me. One deal, I'm collecting 12 grand. I'm like, I can't even do anymore. I'm exhausted. And I was full-time military, so we would literally say, all right, if I picked up 5 agents, they do 5, I do 5. Then I hired an office manager, paid them a salary, hired an assistant manager, gave them a salary. So out of the $100,000, $110,000 we made that month, I was like, I think I kept 55, and I paid salaries to all the rest. But not a bad month for someone who's showing up to the office maybe 6 hours a week. But that's the place where we want everybody to be able to get to. When you have all these numbers coming in and you're starting to see that kind of benefit in your bank account, then start thinking about how to diversify and grow a team. So, but Ashley, looks like you're having a great year. And I know this is just your second year overall, and start thinking about, maybe bringing on some other agents if you're thinking that way.
Yeah, I've also I got my YouTube channel started. I have a couple shorts on there, and I'll be adding one of my first videos today. It's focused on foreclosures as well, because I'm going all in with that.
Awesome.
So if you guys, I put the link in the chat. If y'all would subscribe and like the 2 little shorts I have on there right now, that would be helpful. I have a few people under me, but I'm just sticking to the business builder plan.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just as in general, you might, if you decide to hire an agent to help you out, but you can do that just from afar. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to have a team, an actual team.
Well, when I get into short sales, I'll hire my husband.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, that's right. Yeah, Tyler's on the team. That's right. Get him to work.
Yeah, one thing that I would suggest is like a VA to help you with the marketing, because the marketing is really gonna be a lot.
I plan on getting a VA to do the scrubbing of my cold calling lists and have them call the numbers to see which ones are working, and doing all that first for me in time.
Yep. And great advice. Yeah. And that's literally when you look at the, if you guys haven't had a chance to go through the first 2 weeks of Dynamic Agent Mastermind, that very first video I talk about you're the CEO of your business. It'll talk about a lot of that. So.
And I just found somebody on Fiverr to do my YouTube editing, because I honestly, I don't want to learn how to do that or take the time. So I found someone that I think I'm just going to pay them to video edit my channels.
Absolutely.
My videos.
You can go to Fiverr. It's 5 with 2 R's, or Upwork if you're looking for those folks. But
yeah, Upwork is cheaper in my opinion, because you can get one person to do the full editing without paying, I think, are you paying like $50 a video?
It was 35.
35. Okay, that's not bad. But if you get one person, then you can just continue to use that. But I mean, 35 is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I would shop. I was able to get mine down to 20, 25, but I don't know. I'm really good at negotiations. I told them I'd set them up with X amount of videos over X amount of time, and they're like, "We'll do that for 25." So I kept them coming. But
Yeah,
I had a whole lot of videos.
I plan to do that, but I wanted to test it out first to see if I liked it, because I've tried to use somebody else and I didn't like them. So.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point. So if you guys are using Upwork or Fiverr, you're gonna have to test a few before you find the one you like. It's gonna take a minute. All right, but great feedback, Ashley, and fantastic week. And hopefully everyone is gaining some knowledge from what we're hearing.
Yeah, nice job. Keep it up.
All right, so it looks like up next, see if I see Rod. There's Rod in here, so let's bring him up. Looks like had one lead, but one is better than none. And again, sphere of influence. So I'm just want people to kind of share like how important sphere of influence is, because like I said, if you look through these columns, almost every single time, it's SOI. So, all right, Rod. Well, good morning.
Yep. So picked up another SOI referral from a friend from a church I used to attend before. So again, back to your point about keeping in regular contact with people that you interface with, whether it's family, friends, church congregants, whatever it is, right? Like I said last time, like every interaction is me marketing to them and me communicating with them and being in their lives and present in their front of thought, right? So that's continued to, I think, pay off dividends, even though it's not a ton of them. It's still working slowly but surely, right? And so I'm continuing to focus heavily on that. The last client was a Bexar County Sheriff's deputy, and they were so satisfied with the service that they're like, we're definitely going to pass your information along for any other cadets that are looking at graduating from the academy. And so finding a place where you can serve someone that's in another kind of environment or population, if you will, that can be your advocate is really an potentially effective solution or
absolutely
or asset for you, right? So
yeah. And it's good that you say that. So I used to have a whole slide on all these different marketing ideas. Maybe I'll add that back, but I used to call it marketing madness. And one of the things we used to do was, pick organizations. So I'd be like, all right, go to the medical field. Maybe there's chiropractors and they have a board. So you find out what that board is, you find out when their meeting is, and then you go in and you talk to them about how to become homeowners using a specific program. We go to the medical community and say, hey, when does the doctor board meet in the hospitals? Or when do you guys have big meetings where maybe we can do a lunch and learn? And we go in and we pick up clients that way. So if you're able to get attached to an organization like the sheriffs or any of those, and they allow you to go in and do something like that, if you guys are curious like what it would look like, just reach out to me. I'll be glad to do the first one for you, and multiple if necessary. But take advantage of me. I'm well versed in mortgages and real estate. It's interesting how many people don't know that I run into recently. Like I didn't know people don't know that I run into, but I do. So, but yeah, Roger, you're spot on. When it comes to the community, if you can find a niche or an organization that will help you, then or that you see you can help, then yes, you start to take that angle and become an expert to those folks. Like for instance, the physician's loan. If I'm going to be working with medical folks and I know there's a physician's loan, if I'm not talking about that, I get on all of my sponsors when they come to my events and they start talking about their programs. And I'm like, guys, if you specialize in the physician's loan and we're in front of a bunch of physicians and you talk about down payment assistance, or you talk about FHA, I'm like, you completely blew the opportunity. So, but you're exactly right. You're working with sheriffs. What would appeal to them? So we have what we call the first responders program. So if you're working with sheriffs, say, hey, we actually have a program that's dedicated to you guys. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's what we want you to talk about when you come to, work with us. Or if you're going to put together marketing materials, any of that stuff, you want to start thinking all the ideas, all the ways that I can get as deep into this area as I can. And what you'll notice is not only do you learn about the sheriffs, but you'll say, when I switch to another niche, I see how far or how deep I need to go to make it work. So you always hear me say go deep. That's what I mean. If you're working with the sheriffs, how many can you do a home buying seminar for them? Can you do a home selling seminar for them? Can you talk about different loan products that they could use? And again, if you don't know those things, that's what I'm here for. And I can help you out. But Rod, no, you're absolutely right. You got to stay out there. You cannot be a secret agent. That's literally got to be your focus. Like no matter how the conversation starts, it has to end in real estate, and try to get their contact information and add them to your database. Everyone that you meet should be eventually become part of your sphere of influence, and that list will get bigger and bigger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would like to add too on the like networking events and stuff. I know people like to pass out their cards, but always add those people to your sphere also, especially if you're doing the drip campaigns, because you just want to stay top of mind, even if you only met them one time.
Yep. And bringing that up, yeah, the thing that I've noticed is everybody's like, well, I don't feel like every single person on my list should get the same videos that I send to everybody else. I'm like, why not? If you recorded a buyer video that says, hey, are you familiar with FHA loans? And you're like, well, I don't think my title person would care about that. Okay, that's fine. But I promise you that if you add them to the list, and they get a link from you every week that says, hey, here's a new loan program. Last week I talked about FHA. This week I'm talking about USDA. The next week I'm going to talk about the physician's loan. The next week I'm going to talk about down payment assistance. The next week I'm going to talk about home buyer education. Next time I'm going to talk about my education solutions and student loan forgiveness. The next week I'm going to talk about, I promise you they're going to go, I may not need a house, but if someone ever brings up that topic, I know who I'm going to call. I know who I'm going to refer them to, because every time I see your videos, it just tells me how much you know about the industry. So if you're trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to send them? I'm telling you, just send them the same thing you send everybody else. Just put them on a weekly drip and just send the same content. And it's just the email. I wouldn't necessarily send text to everybody because they're going to get annoyed, but just have them on a weekly drip and put, like, most current market update of the week, and just the same link. You can put it on the same channel and just have them keep going to it over and over. I used to do that with KCM. If you guys are not familiar with them, I would just take a link from KCM, Keeping Current Matters, and I would just say, hey, check out the most current market data for the week. And it would just be a link. They click on it. It would change every day. So it didn't matter what day they went, it was going to be different than it was the day before. And everybody, oh, that was brilliant. We still get leads from people like reaching out. Hey, my friend is looking. Thanks for sending me this update about, how to maintain my home and take care of the air conditioning. And I'm like, I don't even know where they got it from, but I know it came from KCM because I didn't write it. But that's how we knew they were staying in touch with us. So if you guys are trying to figure out like what that looks like, reach out to me in the community and let us know. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. And on your point for the KCM, you can even use that information for like a, talking video, like on a YouTube short or Instagram. You can use any of that information for that too.
Yeah. They got so many platforms out there. I've tried pretty much all of them. And we actually used to do this for people. And then you guys may not know, but Facebook used to allow us to do video cover pages. So you could actually create a video for your cover page instead of the still photos they use today. And we used to do it for people. We charged them, $300. But everybody's like, man, this is awesome because it looked great. People go to your page and they'd see a video running. It looked like, a little commercial for you. But they don't let you do that anymore. So, all right. But fantastic, Rod. Keep up the good work. And, yep, that's what we like to hear.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Looks like if Sherry's with us here. Sherry is not on the stage. All right. So we have Brianna. Looks like, okay, you picked a couple leads and went on an appointment and have a listing lead as well or appointment. All right. Let me bring Bree up. All right. Good morning, Bree.
Good morning, y'all. Okay, let me blow this up. So I did have a buyer lead this past week. I set up an appointment with him, being my dad, actually. He did not like, I've actually helped him buy 2 properties now, and he didn't like that I ran him through like the step 1 for every buyer. I basically just treated him like a completely new client, considering we have new systems, or at least I do, with being that I've joined the team recently. At first, he was opposed to it. He was kind of like, this is just a waste of time. We've already done this. I already know this. And I was like, no. It's a little different this time. So let's go through the process. After the fact, he was very happy. He was also proud, but he got a lot out of it. It did the financing portion of your boot camp slash 52-week program playbook. That really helped pin how we were going to navigate through this process, because he actually purchased his last home under a T-Shack loan, being the DPA. So I did have to do some digging with the lender to figure out if we were past that 3-year mark to be able to purchase the next one without that DPA being due. And especially because he wasn't even looking to sell.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We found that we were actually only days away, today being the official day or the anniversary date. So he's working with 2 lenders now. We're trying to get him under a USDA loan, but we'll see how that goes. It may end up conventional. But yeah, that financing course really helped kind of navigate where we're going to go and how we're going to take the next step, basically.
Yep. Very interesting, right? So when you look at what you've probably been shown in the past versus what you're seeing through my training, it is imperative that you understand that stuff. Like even you said, your own father is like, I'm a pro at this, basically. But he sees the material and he goes, okay, maybe you do know more than me.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, like, even if it's just to tell you, hey, if nothing else, if you want to know the easiest way to get in with your parents, hey, I did pick up, I have switch brokerages or whatever. I got some additional training and I want to practice this with you. So even if you feel like you've already done this, do me a favor. Let me walk through this and tell me if you can find any holes in what I'm doing. Tell me, because I just want to practice someone. Give me your feedback. And then they'll go, yeah, exactly what you said. Like, wow, okay, disregard. I thought I knew all this already, but obviously no. And you're 100% right. Whereas most people think it's not their job really to share like T-Shack information with someone trying to sell a home. Exactly what you just found out. What if there's a prepayment penalty? Oh, I don't. That's my job. Exactly what you just said is exactly what I expect everyone to do. Do your due diligence. Why would any agent think, like, if I do this today, it's not going to help me for every other person I run into that needs to sell a home? These become part of your questionnaire. Hey, do you happen to have a down payment assistance program to help you buy this program or buy this house? Actually, I did. Okay, great. I'm an expert at that. Right. Now you just picked up people no one else can pick up because you're doing even on the seller side. That's why I laugh sometimes. Like, well, I don't need to know that. I'm a listing agent. Okay. Don't learn it. But I can tell you when it comes to the appraisals, down payment assistance, and all that other stuff, it really matters, because even the listing folks have to know, or the sellers have to know, like, what are some of the drawbacks to going this route with financing. And you're learning that pretty fast. But yeah, appreciate the testimonial. That's kind of the whole point, where I don't care how good you are at your position. We can all learn something more. I'm learning stuff every day, and man, I probably need to stop learning, because it becomes to the point now I'm not even using half the stuff that I'm learning anymore. I'm just like becoming a student. I don't want to be a professional student anymore.
Well,
all right,
never stop learning. But yeah, no, every deal is definitely different. It's interesting to see how every deal is so different. I mean, even going from his first or the last closing being a T-Shack deal, and now trying to convert another T-Shack deal, knowing that he already has one, like a mortgage still out on that. It's just like, even from that one to this one, being the same person, same job, same industry and everything, but it can change even just like that. So it's over a few years.
That's right. Yeah. And then looks like you had an appointment with the listing.
I did. And I got the signatures at first, but then they decided they were going to do owner finance for the home. So they cut me out as an agent. It was going to be 2 listings, 2 townhomes, but they were really in bad shape. So we were going to go at some low prices. But then he decided that he wanted to owner finance, and that it wouldn't make sense if he asked for the down payment he was looking for. It wouldn't make sense for him to pay me out as an agent. But
so one of the things you can do is, if you go to listings to leads and you look up the FSBO package they have, you can literally send them a link and say, here's all the things you can do for yourself. And if you look at my entire FSBO strategy, that's a lot of times what I would do. People would be like, I can't afford to pay you. All right, well, here you go. Service them anyway. Treat them as if they are FSBOs. Send them as much information as you can. When they see how much marketing they can do, 100-point marketing plan, of course, they're going to go, I tried to do 3 of those, and there's no way in the world I can do all that. So this is what you can do for me. maybe I will give you a shot. Maybe it is worth paying you. So and then you get to go, and I always think of it this way: everything is practice. So when I was first starting in the mortgage industry, everybody would ask me all the time, like, how do you learn all this stuff? I was like, because when everybody else is saying they're not going to do it, I was like, I don't really care. I'm just going to, of course, now I was making $110,000 as an officer in the military. So I wasn't stressing about making money. I was like, well, why don't I want to help people? And it's interesting. Now that I don't have a salary coming in, I still come from the place of, I just want to help people get into homes. I'm not thinking about my commission. I never do. I don't really care about it. I will work for free if I could, maybe make my money back in a few extra dollars, but I'm not going to pay to help people get into homes, but I would definitely do it if I was making a little off of every home. And that's, if you think of it from that standpoint, how can we service people? How many people can we make homeowners or help them sell their home? And even if I wasn't getting the commission. So FSBO is the easiest way, and the Listings to Leads package is crazy. If you go in there and take a look at it, take that link, send it to them, tell them to sign up for it. And when they sign up for it, it's going to send them a whole laundry list of all the options they can use to sell their house. Even if it's for sale owner, they still need to market it. If there's financing, they still need to market it. Whatever they're going to try to do, they still need to do all those things to get the work out. So
I'm hoping they kind of come back, with it being on the market for a little while. I'm sure they're only going to have a sign, maybe a Craigslist or Facebook ad or something.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll see. I was going to ask you, actually, I don't know if this is really the right setting, but would you even recommend to market it as an off-market listing for them? Or is that stepping out?
It would be strictly like on Facebook and stuff like that. So basically exactly what you're saying is you could literally set up their Listings to Leads to do exactly, that's what it's for. If you look at Listings to Leads, there's a place for off-market. You would just treat it like your own listing, but you would never put it on MLS. And you would go, you run the Facebook ads, you do the YouTube videos, you do all that stuff for them. And of course, they're going to be like, oh my God, the law of reciprocity. And again, the thing for me, if I'd never used the process before, they were just lucky beneficiaries of me not doing it. And I'm like, you know what? This is practice for me. So even though they're not offering to pay, it's still going to benefit me because I get to practice something I wouldn't do without a client. So that's the way I would do it. But
I mean, it did help because that's the conversation I was having with my dad. And then he was like, well, where are we with mine? And I want to buy now. And like, it kind of got his wheels turning. I was like, okay, well, at least I got a buyer lead out of it.
Bingo. That's how it works over and over again. So the more options you can offer, the more likely you're going to get something out of every single transaction, every single conversation.
Yeah. And speaking of options, actually yesterday they had a really good training with LPT. It was about seller financing and the MORE program. And it's it's a really easy way, because I don't know if he was planning on doing it himself, but if you go through this company, it's a lot less risky. They will show him all the numbers up front. And then, so it's just another conversation, another way to market the property, another way to get it out to more buyers, and another tool in our tool belt, right?
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'll send you I'll look for the link and I'll put it in the chat here.
All right, perfect. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, Mastermind at work. There you go. I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Great job, Bree. And keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll bring up, looks like, don't see Latasha. Was she with us? She was a minute ago. Don't see her. Okay. And Lakeisha, she was definitely here a minute ago. She disappeared. All right. So I guess everybody's probably out showing or doing something. Anna doesn't look like no numbers here, but okay, she's with us. That's good. And then Bessie. All right. Looks like picked up a couple of leads and picked up a seller lead as well. All right. So we have Bessie, and she's definitely with us. So I'm going to bring her up on the stage. Let me remove Bree. All right. So Bessie, if you can hear us, you're live.
Yes, I was in listening mode. It's still the Facebook marketing leads, and one of my past clients are now back in the market. So we're working on trying to get her into a new home.
Outstanding. And you said Facebook Marketplace, so you're still running ads and still picking up clients.
Yes.
All right. And what type of ads are you running on Facebook Marketplace?
It's the well, I have a couple of them out there, but most of them that they're applying to is that one that has the rent, the
Lisa,
home rent.
Home.
Yeah, lease to own homes.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people. That's our number one lead generator for Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Now, if you can convert them to rent to own programs, whether it's Divvy, Home Partners, or any of those, if they qualify for any of those, and I think the Utopia is the one that I recommend the most right now because they always go through these different phases. If they're able to qualify for that, you as an agent get paid 3%. Now, if they're like, well, I can't afford the rent to own, or maybe their situation's a little different, or maybe they're in better shape than they thought they were. That's where those other financing option comes into play. And you kind of like, hey, you know what? I know you were the rent to own appealed to you, but you might be in better shape than you think. And so there's a great time to convert them over there as well. The beauty of it is if they do go to lease to own, they have 1 year at a time where they got to make a decision. We've had our clients that would literally get the home for a year, say, we didn't realize we were inheriting someone else's problems. And then they come back to you, you made your 3% on that deal. And then they like, can you show us a new build home? Because if you're a new build specialist and you go through that spiel, even if they're rent to own, hey, let me show you a couple of new builds because you may qualify. And if they're like, well, we didn't qualify, they still got to hear your spiel. They got to see new build. They got that new car smell, the new build smell. And maybe a year later, they're like, we still remember everything you showed us about those new builds a year ago. And we think we want to let go of this problem that we just inherited and swing over to new builds. Can you still show us some more of those new builds? So that's why I say if you market yourself as a new build specialist, no matter how you get the lead, always introduce them to a new build. Always, always, always. But yep, the fact that these leads are working, you're picking them up. And as you can see, even in this part of the year where it seems like things are slowing down, everybody's able to pick up leads. Now, the conversion process is a little bit different, but absolutely fantastic job. And this goes to show, like, as long as you keep doing the work, there's going to be, ebbs and flows, but the overall goal is to always have leads coming in where you can keep doing your job and servicing and helping more people. So great job, Bessie. I like what you're doing and definitely appreciate your feedback. Oh, looks like you switched on us over to your different device. All right, go ahead. You were saying something, Bessie?
I don't know what happened.
I have you on both devices now, so you can go ahead if you can hear me. All right, I guess you can't hear me. All right. Well, again, we appreciate your feedback, and we'll try to wrap this up from here. But as you guys can see, like I said, a lot of these are sphere of influence. If you haven't looked at the Facebook Marketplace leads, again, going through the content, if everybody's, watching the call or part of the call and they're seeing like what exactly are some of these assignments, one of the things I wanted to touch on before I get into the assignment for the day or for the week is if you started on day one, so I put like the 14-day boot camp, part of it's like all the essentials. A lot of the people that were brand new to the mastermind were like, it may seem kind of interesting. I've been in the business for 3, 4, 5 years, but I just never feel like I learned the basics. And I'm like, I hear that a lot. And so what I did was I built in the basics here. So it's the 7-day basic boot camp. I pulled it off of the classroom because a lot of people's, it's a little bit harder when you compare it to this, it's harder to access certain things. So I was like, let me just go ahead and add it here. And then the 52-week starts here. But the first week of the 52 weeks is getting organized. So if you are wondering like, well, when I start on this day, am I behind? No, you're not. It doesn't matter what day you start on. Don't look at this and think, were you able to complete the assignment for last week? That doesn't mean that you're in the same place as someone else. You could have done the assignment for week 5 and we're on week 18. Week 5 is your assignment. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So if you did that assignment, you did the assignment for that week. You're not behind, because here's what's going to happen. If you follow the structure that I put together, this is what JPAR was trying to get me to do for them. And I was like, no, I won't do that. But it's your Facebook cover page and branding. There's something you need to do there. Well, let's just start right here. Let's say this is the first assignment you do. Copy in the teleprompter app, record a video, send it to your SOI. That's all you do. It doesn't matter that this is literally day 2 in the boot camp. If you do this assignment, and you come to the mastermind and you say, the first assignment I did was my hello world email. Great. You did it. You did the assignment. And all we want to know is, how did it work for you? So it's not going to matter that you did it day 1 and we're on week 18. It's just, how did it work for you? Share your story, share your milestones, and everyone here is going to go, oh man, when I did it, it didn't work for me that way. Or I did it, I got a different result. Because everybody that does these assignments, it turns out that their stories are always a little bit different. So it helps all of us just to hear whatever you did. So don't feel like if you started in week 1 and we're on week 18 that you're behind. You can just keep going through it. Now, if you start doing 2 assignments every week because you're like, hey, I got time and it looks like these aren't that tough. One of the things I did was we started with the advice of the group here, because it's the beta program, was literally to separate some of these assignments so they weren't so many doubled and tripled up. So I made them like 1 assignment at a time. So once you get through the first 2 weeks, you could easily do 2 assignments a week and catch up. But the goal is not to worry about it, because your 52 weeks will be different from everybody else's 52 weeks. So, Tanya, anything you want to add to that?
No, I love that. You could just do 1 assignment and that still counts. That way nobody's like stressing out to get everything done. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, I'm behind. Like, not really. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Now, I did want to go over some of these real quick for everybody who went through this, but I was looking at this realtor's guide for financing, and it's kind of interesting because it says, like, a lot of these scores in here, I know a lot of people have seen many different programs, but even if you've seen a lot of this information and you feel like you've seen it a lot of places, you kind of know it. The stuff that I put here, really, it'd be hard to know everything in here, because a lot of this is just straight from my brain. Like, a lot of the stuff I made up in 2010, 2007, 2008, and 9, based on my experience, which the standard in the industry was not this. You would never see this. Like, for instance, if I go ask most mortgage brokers if there's a such thing as a 550 credit score for a veteran, they're going to be like, no, we can't get anybody approved for less than a 580. I'm like, for veterans, man, they don't even use credit scores. How could you possibly feel that way? Because that's the guidelines they have. It's called their overlays. So every lender is going to tell you something different. But as a mortgage broker, I learned a whole lot of different ways to do things. And then I also said, well, even if as a mortgage broker, I got 700 plus different lenders. Now there's only 200. Back then there were 700. So that's why a lot of these lenders, when they say things to me, I'm like, guys, you don't know 90% of the programs we were taught back then, because they don't offer them anymore. They're like, oh, I said, I'll probably forget more about mortgages than you'll ever learn, because they don't teach it anymore. And they get upset with me. I'm like, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just telling you, before 2010, there was 700 plus lenders out there who were offering products that they don't offer. So a lot of this stuff right here is stuff that I've learned over years that's still around, and they didn't have it available back then. So it's like, if you ask some questions about, like, what's the main purpose of credit repair, that's literally from a training I taught people to improve people's credit. It's common sense. I wasn't trying to make this hard. And then the payment history, that's stuff you learn if you learn credit. What's the minimum credit accounts to build positive history? Like, this is my number. Most of the experts say 3. I say 5, because there's a reason I say 5. But covering a portion of down payment, that makes sense. First-time home buyers to make a larger down payment. Some of the stuff is pretty simple. This, I will tell you, is not the standard. Most conventional do not say 50%. This is me. I tell you, because I know that when they use their automated underwriting system, they will go as high as 50%, but most of the time they tell you 43. And then they'll tell you the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidelines of front end ratio versus back end ratio of what they call, 28% to 36% front end ratio versus your back end. Like, 50% is just a number I know, because when they automate it, they'll do it that way. So that's something that you would, if you went through my training, you would learn it from my training, but you definitely wouldn't learn it from the industry, because that's not the way they would teach it. A 10% down payment, a little bit different there as well. Student loan forgiveness, we talk to people every day. They still don't know this. They're like, what? There's no way to get people out of default without going through the 9-month program. I'm like, well, we've done it twice now. And it took them less than 3 weeks. They let her good standing. And they're like, lenders, even at D.R. Horton, are like, can you send us the name of that company? Every lender over there is now using this company because we pointed out to them. So hopefully everyone is, as you go through these trainings, you're starting to recognize there's just a lot of information in here that you probably won't learn anywhere else. And if you did, they're going to give you the standard answers. Whereas with me, you have access to me. So if you're like, well, I talked to my lender and they don't know how to find that. I'm going to tell you right now, almost every lender out there is going to tell you they can't find a lot of stuff because they want your business. And they're going to try to convince you that if we don't have it, then it probably can't be done. And I'm going to be like, that's a bunch of BS. Matter of fact, they're not even supposed to say that. They'll get in a lot of trouble if they convince you and then you use them and they can't get the deal done and your clients lose money, that's actually a lawsuit and they will lose. I can tell you that verbatim. It's duty, breach, causation, damages. They were negligent in their duties and they're going to get sued and they're going to lose. So don't let any lender tell you that that's the only way it can be done, because that's not true. And that's the reason why with both licenses, I'm like, my duty is to my client first, not to the loan officer. And if they're like, oh, this program is the only one you can use, like, yeah, I don't think so. I'm going to go talk to someone else. But that's also how you end up getting more people into homes. So hopefully that makes sense. Some of these ratios, again, you'll see a little bit different in the guidelines. I'm just telling you, they can even go up to high as like 45%. This is more of a guideline. And I think 41 is what you'll see most times. I just say 43 because I know when they use automated underwriting system, it'll go that high. Same thing for a lot of these other fees. You know, the PMI, yeah, that's standard. The rebate programs, yeah, that's just me telling people how to use the rebate. You can create lease termination program, I'll pay your appraisal program, whatever it is you want to call it. This literally, no way in the world anyone should be thinking 1 to 20% with conventional. The only reason I say this is because I'm a loan officer with Loan Factory. We're one of the few people that can ever offer a 1% conventional loan. So I put that because I know we can do it. I would not expect you to talk to other people unless they are part of Rocket Mortgage's corresponding lending team, which our broker is one of the few in the country. So there's no way you could do that unless you're part of one of the brokerages that is attached to that. Some of these credit scores, yeah, I say this is what you shoot for because these are recommendations I give when I was as a credit repair expert. So I started doing credit repair a long time ago, and I was helping people that no one else could help. I talked to Deanne Harper like 15 years ago because she's like, no one else could help my aunt or some woman that she was like, this is my aunt or something. I was like, I mean, it was like an $80,000 deal. We really didn't make any money off of it. But I was like, hey, it's your first deal. Just get it done. I don't care. You know, it's not going to cost me any money. As long as we don't cost anything to do it, then I don't mind helping people. So I was taking chances because it wasn't hurting me. But that's where a lot of this information comes from. So hopefully, you know, you guys get to benefit from my knowledge, even though you may not hear this across the board. Just understand if it's my program and you're asking someone else about it, they probably don't know. So I'd probably be the best person to come and talk to if you're wondering, like, where do these numbers come from? Because other people say it can't be done. Hey, I can promise you, if I said if it's on here, it can be done. And if it's changed, I'll be glad to learn from you guys that it changed. But hopefully that makes sense to everybody. The other exam that I had, I saw most people have taken this one, so that's great. The other one was the, especially for the team, the TREC competency requirements. I have a lot of people that took it. Some people didn't. But for my team members, these are the ones I'm going to turn into the broker, the realtor financing, and the TREC competency requirements. So there's a couple of questions on here that I think everyone needs to understand when they first get started in the industry. And even as a reminder, it's kind of like your continuing education. So I'm probably going to make sure everybody has to take these, at least with my team, every year. They're going to have to take the exam because I'm going to send it up to the broker, and the brokers have already seen my exams, and they're like, man, this is a fantastic idea. They may adopt it for the whole state. So we'll see. But again, more to come. You guys will probably see more of my training, more of my test, all that good stuff going on. All right. Now, as far as next week, I think we're 100% caught up. We're on week 17. And let's see if I got anything written for that, I think. Okay, so we did listen exercise, short form video listings. All right, let's see what week 18. All right, so if you haven't had a chance to watch this one, this is assignment for next week. Everybody has already done the listing agent, hopefully practical exercise. And then the next one will be week 18, short form. And then I got a bunch of topics that I'm just plugging in. And by the time we get to them, you guys will have seen all this stuff. And then here's where everything is going to kind of change again. Week 32, we're going through all the YouTube stuff. So when you talk about editing and all that, even if you don't want to do it, I already have the entire program here. We'll show you how to edit. We'll show you how to get the highest rankings in SEO. We'll show you how to write the descriptions. We'll show you everything you want to know. It's all in here. If you guys want to go take a look afterwards, you'll see a lot of that stuff. I think I added some already. Yeah, matter of fact, it's already in here. So this is what I taught to people. 2 months later, they were picking up $19,000 commissions from people flying in from Boulder, Colorado, to basically meet them. They're like, hey, I saw your YouTube channel. You're famous to us, right? Like, it's interesting, but that's how they feel about you. They'll come in from another state and be like, I saw your videos. We watched the one about this. We watched the one about this. We saw this. You talked about that, blah, blah. I mean, they just run down. This young lady was 22 years old, and they thought she was an expert. And she's like, it's hard to have these conversations because I don't know everything they think I know. It's like, it's okay. You know way more than they know, and they don't know what you don't know. So, and I was always with her anyway. So they would start having these conversations, and they're like, "We're so glad we met you guys. You're the best part about this process." We're like, "Thanks. That was awesome, right?" But it was literally because they start to see you on video. And this was the whole point of this mastermind, was to get people used to the idea of, if you're going to be doing video, then absolutely, by all means, people are going to get to know you from a different perspective. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And there was no better situation for the agents that have done this than using YouTube and attracting buyers within 2 to 3 months. So if you haven't gotten good at that, you're going to see why, because it's really hard if you don't know the problem, how to fix it. You can't come up with a solution to a problem you haven't identified. And I think if people are going, well, how do we get rankings higher in YouTube? You're going to find out when you go through this exercise. And then the rest of the 52 weeks, I'll fill them in as I get more content. Most of it I just got to pull it from my other sources and revamp it so it fits here. But hopefully everybody sees what's coming. And we got pretty much a packed 52 weeks coming up. I just had a little bit of time, a couple of holidays, and the fact that the market's slowing down, I was able to get more done. But hopefully you guys can appreciate all the work that's in there. Me and Tanya talked about this in the very beginning about how do we serve more people? How do we come up with something that would, benefit everyone? And the idea of Mastermind popped up multiple times. And so here's basically what we came up with, and hopefully you guys are all benefiting from it. Anything you want to add, Tanya?
No, I agree with you 100%. You're on point as far as the reason that we created this, and I'm excited to continue on. I mean, we still have quite a few weeks to go, so keep trucking along.
Yep, absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, we're at 10:57. I'm always happy to just get done before 11. Usually I want to do it in 45 minutes, but I know an hour is usually a decent block of time for most of us. But with that, everybody have a great week, and we'll see you again in next Thursday. Like I said, I'll send out that calendar link for anybody who wants to be there. Just make sure you let us know, accept the invite, because I want to make sure we have a good head count so they're not wasting food. But thanks for everybody showing up, and again, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, bye. See you next week.